Okay, so now we are at our fourth panel. It's called Future-Proofing Turkish Business. It is our clean energy panel. First of all, our moderator is Mr. Levent Bayar. He's Risk Director and Head of IR at TÜPRAŞ. Our speakers are Elif Hamlacıoğlu. She's Investor Relations Group Director at IDEM Energy. Emrah Özsavaşçı, Managing Director at Dignita Partners. Murat Eroz, Asset Management and Sustainability Leader at Enerjisa Üretim. And finally, Yeşim Akçoğlu. She is Senior Energy Sector Leader at the World Bank.
Thank you, Kübra. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the fourth panel of today, on which we will discuss future-proofing Turkish business with clean energy. We all know that clean energy sources offer the advantage of being sustainable, replacing greenhouse gas emissions, improving air quality, and providing a path for energy sector's transition. The adoption and expansion of clean energy technologies are critical to mitigating climate change and transitioning to a more sustainable energy future. While renewable energy sources offer numerous benefits, several challenges are associated with their widespread adoption and integration into the energy landscape. Some of the key challenges related to renewables include intermittency due to dependence on weather conditions, which also poses challenges for grid stability and reliability as well. Secondly, to address intermittency, energy storage solutions such as batteries are essential. Developing cost-effective and high-capacity energy storage systems is a major challenge. Thirdly, integrating renewable energy into existing energy grids can be challenging as well. Finally, large-scale renewable energy projects like solar farms and wind turbines require substantial land or sea space and capex as well. Within this context, I would like to ask our panelists, which are the key challenges you believe in clean energy now, and what are the potential solutions to clean energy transition? We can start with Elif, I think.
Hello, thank you so much for giving me the word, and thank you so much for inviting me here. It's a beautiful conference. To start with, maybe I could give an introduction about the renewable energy, if you may allow me. Currently, the total installed capacity of Turkey is 105.6 gigawatts in total, and 55% of this installed capacity is renewable energy. In 2005, when the legislation about the renewable energy was published and the YEKDEM feed-in tariff was announced, the installed capacity of renewable energy was only at the level of 13 gigawatts. Now we can say that reaching out to a point of 58.2 gigawatts, it's a huge increase, but it was also driven by the incentives and the needs of the country, since we have a huge current account deficit driven by energy imports, and also the transition to green energy. But currently, with this increasing installed capacity, and when we look at the national energy plan of Turkey, it is expected to reach to a level of 123 gigawatts of renewable energy in total capacity in 2035 for Turkey. With this increase, there are also some impacts on the grid, as Levent Bey mentioned, and new technologies also, new regulations will be published regarding this in order to balance the generation of renewable technology. One of this that comes to my mind, and there is a very recent brand new regulation upon that, and there was a tender of pre-license, is the battery storage technology. This technology is very brand new, both for the world and Turkey. There are very few operating examples currently in China or Colombia, but everyone is following up this opportunity together with the electrical vehicles or the technical equipment that we use at our home or within the power plants in order to balance the renewable generations. Let's assume a wind power plant there's not always a wind speed that is, stable. The generation would fluctuate even within the day, and that would impact the grid. If we have a coupling battery storage with that power plant, that would also stabilize the generation, because if there's no wind, then we could give the power or electricity to the system through this battery, and we would have a more stable generation. Therefore, we could assume that battery storage, this new technology, is one of the solutions to the question that Levent Bey mentioned. And there was a very brand new regulation in Turkey too. There was a tender of pre-licenses for battery storage coupled renewable energy, and a new feed-in tariff was also announced by the regulatory authority in order to support these projects. I'm representing the IDEM group. We also applied for a license, for a pre-license for battery storage, but they capped the license at 500 megawatts, I say. 500 megawatts of renewable installed capacity plus 500 megawatt hours of battery storage. In total, I think 25,000 megawatts of pre-licenses were obtained, and we obtained 500 megawatts of that. So I believe that this new technology, with the developments in both internationally and in Turkey domestically, I believe that this would be a very good solution for renewable energy to be covered, to be more stabilized. And another point that I would like to mention, it's again, it was a new regulation in Turkey too, hybrid generation. Maybe you've heard of it beforehand. I think it was a new regulation in 2021. There were some amendments to that, but right now there are some recent commissioning on these hybrid power plants. What does hybrid mean? The existing power plant owners have a right to apply for a hybrid additional secondary renewable resource, in order to couple the current renewable energy resource of the power plant, or the existing power plant resource of the power plant. For example, we had an example in IDEM Renewables. We had a wind power plant in Uşak, and we have coupled a brand new solar capacity with it as the hybrid power plant, and this hybrid solar capacity was around 82.15 megawatts. It's well, I was able to visit the power plant. It's huge. When you look at it, you just can't see the end of it. It's all solar power plants, and between them, the wind turbines. It was a very nice view, and this hybrid also provided that if there's no wind, there's always, at daytime, let's say, there's always this solar radiation, and together with this double generation, it would more stabilize generation at the connection point, because they give the same limitations within the power plant. So I would say this hybrid regulation would also help to stabilize the grid in terms of development of renewable energy. Thank you.
Thank you, Elif Hanım, for your insights on renewables as well as batteries, which are very, very hot topics of the energy industry right now. Emrah Bey, would you like to give your thoughts about the current challenges of the clean energy?
Thank you. First of all, thanks for this opportunity. I think it's a great privilege to be here and address on such a distinguished audience. As you know, low-emission hydrogen has been emerging as an important tool for hard-to-abate sectors, decarbonizing hard-to-abate sectors, and its importance has been underlined with the recent energy crisis, Russia's invasion of Ukraine. In this context, many countries and companies made it as their integral part of their strategy plans. Currently, more than 40 countries, including Turkey, have hydrogen strategy in place. And in addition, several major economies integrated hydrogen strategy into their industry plans. The number of announced projects are very promising, reaching 38 million tons in 2030. Turkey also aims to establish plans, 2 gigawatts by 2030, 5 gigawatts 2035, and 70 gigawatts 2053. So very promising. However, despite this momentum, low emission hydrogen is still an energy carrier of future. And accounts for less than 1% of global hydrogen production and use, and will need to grow more than 100-fold to reach our ambitions, our climate ambitions and net zero ambitions. Picture is similar on the demand side, unfortunately. Although hydrogen demand reached 95 million tons, it's the highest ever, 3% increase year on year. It remains concentrated in traditional applications, industry refining, and only 0.1% coming from hard-to-abate sectors. The private sector made the initiative and moved to adopt low-emission hydrogen through offtake agreements, but quite limited in size. Current picture is not promising, but as mentioned earlier, good news is on the projects in the pipeline. The number of announced projects rapidly expanding. If all of them are realized, the production, low-emission hydrogen production will be 38 million tons in 2030. Obviously, there are some challenges in front of this realization efforts, and the most significant one is, of course, the cost. As you know, sector needs to build up integrated projects. Those integrated projects are capital intensive with complex value chains and offtake agreements to become feasible. Inflation is increasing the capital and financial costs and threatening the bankability of these projects. For example, an increase of 3 percentage points of the capital costs impact the integrated project more than 50%. So this year, globally, more than many projects, I should say, increased their initial cost assumptions more than 50%. Inflation is also increasing the equipment costs. Governments, advanced economies started to respond to this, but slow implementation of support is delaying the investment decisions. There are also challenges on the demand side, the demand creation side, and expansion of the manufacturing technology. So, like all emerging technologies, overcoming these challenges require government support and initiative and incentives. Funding for production projects, demand creation through incentives, supporting project developers not to lose this period of momentum, and quickly addressing regulatory barriers, particularly for around licensing and permitting, and fostering international cooperation around hydrogen certification and mutual recognition of certificates. So as a result, we need stronger support, policy action on multiple fronts for hydrogen deployment and adoption. Thank you.
Thank you, Emrah Bey, for your contributions and thoughts on this. Can we get Murat Bey's thoughts about the challenges that we face with the clean energy transition?
Of course, gladly. I think there's a general consensus right now globally that the green transition in the power sector, electricity generation more specifically, will come through renewable energy generation from solar and wind. At least those are the two main streamlines. As Enerji Üretim, we're also an advocate of these two technologies, and we're also a big-time investor in these two technologies. We're developing over 1,000 megawatts of installed capacity of wind power plants, and based on government permits, as much solar as we can in the next couple of years. Now, that being said, what I'm going to mention might sound a little counterintuitive, but There are some caveats with these two technologies that needs to be kept in perspective as well. I come from a physical asset management background, and the main premise of that phenomena is that you need to look at your physical assets from a whole life cycle point of view. That means if you're investing in these technologies, it's not only the operational phase of the life cycle, but also the end of their life cycle that you need to consider as well. And herein lies the challenge, not only for Turkey, but the whole world, which is that, for example, photovoltaic solar panels. These are highly technological devices that are typically made up of hazardous materials like cadmium, lead, there are semiconductors in them, there are films, and during the manufacturing process, these thin layers are heavily pressed against one another. The implication is that at the end of their life cycle, these panels are challenging, at least with the current infrastructure, to recycle. A similar phenomena is also valid for wind turbines. These are carbon fiber materials, and again, very difficult to recycle. So we need to think about this and come up with solutions, I think. Typical life cycle for these units is about 25, 30 years. So we in Turkey do not feel the pressure right now, but in a few decades, this is going to become an issue. And we see this in other parts of the world that have invested in these renewable technologies earlier than us. For example, in California, United States, they're typically, the main discussion is how they're going to recycle these power plants that are coming to the end of their life cycle. I think it's not hopeless. I think producers need to think more about manufacturing these pieces with more recyclable materials, with minimum amount of toxic chemicals used within them. I think we need to think and research about ways on how they could be used in construction, infrastructure, and we, I think, need to incentivize the recycling of these power plant facilities with some sort of tax incentive or other subsidies. The second issue that I think is a challenge, and this is more closer to our present time, which is the competition for suitable land. It takes about 1.5 hectares of land to install 1 megawatts of solar power plants. And it takes about more than 10 times that land amount to invest and build wind power plants. Again, that might sound a little counterintuitive because a wind turbine has a much lesser footprint, but the issue there is that because the wake, what we call the wake effect, you need to distribute these wind power turbines over a larger amount of area. And you typically designate the area in between for access roads or for infrastructure or transmission lines in between. So what I'm trying to arrive at is we need to come up with a diligent land planning and use because these, the areas, the land which we can position our solar power plants and wind turbines are also competing with farmlands. We can't put a wind power plant anywhere we like because the wind has to be at a certain speed. You need to be away from cultural heritage sites and so on and so forth. So there's a less and less amount of land that fits the criteria. So long story short, we need to invest and look into very diligent methods of using our land when we're investing in renewable technologies. As NISO written, we, for example, are looking seriously into what's called the agrivoltaic solar power plants, where we co-locate farming and elevated and dispersed solar power plants at the same location, which provides tremendous advantages both for farming purposes and for solar power plant, solar power generation. Thank you.
Thank you, Murat Bey, for your contribution. Yeşim Hanım, would you like to provide some thoughts about this current topic?
Levent Bey, thank you very much, and good afternoon, everyone, dear distinguished participants and organizers of this excellent event. Already all the panelists mentioned very important challenges and some potential remedies. I would like to add only a few words, also linking them to the previous session, from which I have learned a lot, frankly. Mr. Attila Köksal and Mr. Andreas Posavak mentioned poverty, hunger, and health issues as global issues. Actually, while we are talking about sustainable energy investments today, nearly 800 million people lack access to electricity. And this is a major issue. So when we are talking about sustainability, we have to also encounter inclusion into the picture. Also, each and every day, we are experiencing extreme weather events, disasters, earthquakes, forest fires, droughts, floods, you name all of them, all around the world. So resilience of the sector is also a major challenge. As the World Bank, when we are actually making our action plans with regard to climate or energy or sustainability, which are all need to be considered in the same picture, we are thinking all those three pillars together: greening, inclusion, and resilience. And also, as many of the speakers mentioned today, the focus needs to be shifting from inputs to the impact. So we need to talk more about the impacts, and I believe in the next session there will be results of some impact analysis based on ESG. Also, we need to talk about greening the entire economies instead of only green projects or small investments. We have to have the bigger picture in place. As the World Bank, we are trying to integrate the climate and energy aspects with the development. And as one of the first countries in the ECA region, Europe and Central Asia, for Turkey, we conducted an analysis which was completed last year and was based on the climate and country development aspects. And I'll be happy to share the link to this report if you wish. As I said, resilience has become one of the most important challenges while discussing sustainability and energy investments. Thus, we don't need to only focus on mitigation of the climate change aspects, but adaptation of the climate change aspects. And if time permits, in the second round, I'll be mentioning about what we are doing on those fronts. Regarding financing, I know we will discuss in depth in the coming round, but not only the IFI's contributions, such as the World Bank, EBRD, IFC, and others, are not enough, and public financing, private financing, as well as PPPs and guarantees should be in place. Let me stop here. Thank you.
Thank you, Yeşim Hanım. And I would like to thank all my panelists for setting the stage for the second part of our discussion. Now let's talk about Turkey a bit. Where do you think main disadvantages of Turkish energy landscape in terms of future-proofing businesses and clean energy adoption? Do you think is it lack of corporate desire or lack of state support, i.e. misaligned incentives, or challenges in access to funding or infrastructure?
I've spent more than 20 years in energy industry, mainly in international investment projects, and currently in my company I'm also advising and discussing potential international investors, risks, rewards, and all other investment-related things with the investment environment of Turkey. I think to be able to define the barriers, we need to better understand the investors and, of course, their perspectives. Potential investors in renewable energy sectors are mainly coming from private sector. Around 86% of the renewable investments globally made by private sector, and this number has been steady over the last 6 years. Interestingly, a large share of the brownfield FID and M&A coming from outside the energy sectors. Over the last decade, companies whose main activity lay outside the energy sector are responsible from the 76% of the overseas M&A globally. You will remember in 2018, furniture retailer IKEA bought a wind farm in Portuguese, and more recently in April 2021, Amazon announced its plans to buy 9 different projects, wind and solar hybrid, to power its operations in North America and Europe. And also a German logistics company in October 2021, DHL, announced its plans to develop a solar energy plant. So it's mainly coming from outside the energy sector, but that was brownfield M&A activities. The story is different on the greenfield activities that's coming from energy, pure energy companies. So destination on the host countries, or the destination or host countries for the renewable investments are mainly the ones with the potential, renewable energy potential. That's natural. But this is only part of the story. Investment environment of the host country significantly affects the final investment decision. According to International Energy Agency numbers, there are $2.7 trillion energy investment globally in the world, and 1.8 trillion of which is renewable energy, and around 80% of each is on advanced economies and China. So, and they are potentially not the best, they don't have the best potential of renewable energy. And historical FDI figures also proves this understanding. Over the last 20 years, more than 5,000 projects made around the world, and main projects are sponsored by the countries like Germany, Spain, more advanced economies. And in terms of destination countries, same goes. The main host countries are US, UK, and Europe. Elif Hanım mentioned about the Turkey's potential. Turkey made a great move, fastest growth in OECD countries with 5.5% annually compared to 3% in OECD average, and the growth trend projected to continue with double-digit numbers. But as discussed, this is only part of the story. When we look at the FDI numbers, Turkey doesn't get its fair share from the global FDI numbers. And comparing with the other advanced economies, Turkey offers some incentives, but limited in size with the Inflation Reduction Act of USA or Fit for 55 of Europe. Around the project feasibility, cost of capital is better than many countries, but significantly higher than our main competitors' advanced economies. Currency risks, currency volatility and forex risks is higher in this country, and inflation is significantly higher than our competing countries. The maturity and predictability of our market is less advanced than its competitors. Price doesn't always evolve in the market, and interventions are unfortunately possible in the market. Frequent change in law is another issue. The rule of the game may change when you are playing. Compared to other advanced economies, no fair and quick legal system in place to protect your investment, and limited transparency on public decisions and regulations. Unfortunately, there are certain group of preferred investors who take the lion's share and make their investments. So, as discussed, Turkey has high potential and all positive metrics, and I strongly believe will get its share from the global FDI. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Emrah Bey. As a finance person, I was really wishing it wouldn't come to funding this soon in the panel. But now that we are talking about it, I would like to get insights about the leading source of funding for future-proofing Turkish businesses from Yeşim Hanım.
Is it working? Oh, okay. Thank you very much. As the World Bank, actually, we are investing in climate finance globally, which are the investments in a sustainable manner. And we are also committed that at least 35% of our investments will be climate finance, as per our latest climate change action plan for the period of 2021 to 2025. And I'm proud to say that we have already exceeded this target in the first 2 years of the implementation. As of last year, the World Bank Group's climate finance was around $32 billion globally. And fortunately, Turkey is getting the lion's share from this climate finance investments. And together with 6 global partners, including the successful players, global players in the market, we signed a memorandum of understanding with the government for additional $3 billion for Turkey for climate finance, out of which $2 billion will be financed by the World Bank in the coming years. Actually, the time span remained as 2 more years for these investments. Globally, actually, as I mentioned, we are not only investing in the innovative renewable energy scale-up projects, but also climate adaptation projects. We also have a target of nearly 50% of our climate finance for adaptation purposes, which is important to tackle resilience and adaptation issues. Also, we value green bonds, which we established in 17 countries, and we support the governments for their NDCs. This is what we are working with the Turkey government as well. We managed to do so in 35 countries so far, and we are working with the Turkish government for long-term strategies, LTS and NDC support in this regard. As part of the program, our program is diverse, and as I said, I'm happy to be part of it. We have renewable energy projects such as geothermal development, offshore wind support, which is now evolving, and renewable energy integration, which is a crucial part of it. As Murat Bey mentioned, even if you generate electricity somewhere, the transmission and distribution of it are major challenges. So we have a series of renewable energy integration projects. We have green industry projects in order to actually align Turkish companies with the EU's Green Deal and CBAM requirements, basically. We have green OIZ, organized industrial zones projects, where we have renewable energy, energy efficiency investments, as well as circular economy investments, which are important. We also support green growth and climate adaptation and resilience of the overall power sector. While doing this, actually we leverage financing from other co-financiers. For the new period, we will be managing global climate investment funds. And we will be in the managing role together with several line ministries, Turkish government, as well as EBRD and IFC. So hopefully this concessional financing will make our investments even more attractive. Because as you might imagine, as the World Bank, we are providing long maturities up to 35 years with 10 years of grace period. And on top of these, we are also providing global co-financing from several institutions. For energy sector, as I said, we are managing global climate investment funds. We are managing European Union's energy funds for several renewable energy, energy efficiency and reform activities. Japanese funds, some other global trust funds, etc. As I said, not only public financing will be enough, or IFI financing will be enough. So one of our aims is to mobilize more and more private capital, as well as PPPs, public-private partnerships. And looking forward, as always, we will be supporting new technologies such as green hydrogen, battery storage, hydro pump storage, e-mobility. and decarbonization of transport sector. By the way, regarding transport, which is a kind of nexus between transport and energy, we are already supporting Istanbul ferries for their decarbonization, and we are working with both Izmir and Istanbul municipalities on their sustainable urban mobility programs by, again, utilizing European Union funds. So I'm very optimistic, both in terms of financing, global financing, as well as co-financing for Turkey, and the impact of these projects, hopefully with the participation of IFIs, public, private, and all other guaranteeing institutions, we will be achieving those results. Thank you.
Thank you, Yeşim Hanım, for providing the global backdrop as well as an optimistic picture for the future. At this stage, I would like to get insights from Elif Hanım regarding the green issuance with IDEM Energy. What were the key challenges and benefits of that issuance?
Maybe I should start with the journey of sustainability before I start with the green bond issuance. Maybe Dilek Hanım would widely touch on the points at the next panel, but I will briefly go over our sustainability journey. I'm representing IDEM Energy Group, and IDEM Renewables is one of our companies within the group that is publicly traded. We had its IPO in 2021, April, and we have issued a green bond at the end of July 2021, which had some milestones for Turkish economy and energy sector, let's say. Before touching on to that, in order to be issuing a green bond, we had to start a sustainability journey, actually. We have published our very first sustainability report in 2020 for the year of 2019, and since we have been publishing this sustainability report annually, we have received an ESG rating from Vigeo Eiris. It was one of the first of its kind, actually, and we had one of the highest ratings. It was the highest rating in Turkey. I think the first rating was the second in emerging markets. With the recent rating, we have become the #1 in emerging markets in terms of utilities. We are still #1 in Turkey in terms of the rating schedule of Vigeo Eiris, let's say. Vigeo Eiris is a subsidiary of Moody's, a credit rating company. And together with that, we have started a transformation within the company. We already had 100% renewable energy in IDEM Renewables, but we wanted to show how good in practice we were doing things. We were trying to do the best practice in terms of health and safety, in terms of environmental issues, reporting, socially, and in terms of governance. Therefore, these ratings and these attempts also proved that we were successful in our sustainability journey. During the issuance process, we got a second-party opinion from Sustainalytics, and we have published a green financing framework in order to commit that we will only invest in 100% green energy resources, and all our capex will be regarding to this commitment. Therefore, we have issued a bond with a size of $750 million. At that time, it was the largest deal size since Koç Holding's issuance, but that was not a green bond. And it has some milestones for Turkish energy sector and maybe financing sector, let's say, because it was the largest green bond deal at the time. It was the largest deal in Central and Eastern Europe and MEA for a renewable energy company or additional energy resource companies. Therefore, and together with the Koç Holding fact, it was a very large ticker, and we have issued this bond at one tranche, not in partial tranches, in only one tranche. So it was a very successful bond issuance, I may say. Another milestone was that the order booking was really highly qualified. 77% of our investors were real money investors. And we had an EBRD process too, and as you may already know, EBRD has very high restrictions or highly strict rules while they are making an investment. They make environmental and social due diligences. They take care of, they pay attention to every point of view, including the size of the dam in a hydroelectric power plant, or how we make the reportings of land appropriation, or how we make the reportings of, or where we put the technical things, or we had a lot of detailed due diligences on-site and off-site. And at the end, 10% of our investor was EBRD at that deal. And also around 98% of the investors were foreign investors. So I may say this was a very successful deal at the time. I may give that as an example of green financing, maybe. Thank you.
Thank you, Elif Hanım. Maybe as a last question to Murat Bey regarding their challenges as an asset operator in terms of future-proofing the business.
Yeah, there are many challenges, obviously, but if I were to state just one, I would probably cite climate change itself. The recent developments in climatic conditions demonstrate that we need to deal with a number of issues ranging from floods, accompanied by landslides. We have prospects of higher sea levels now. We're dealing with storms. We're dealing with higher irradiation from the sun, much higher temperatures. As a power generator and operator of more than 25 assets, nearing about 4,000 megawatts of installed capacity, we have to deal with these, we've started to deal with these issues already. And if you've seen the CDP report, the last one, you will observe that it's now an issue of not mitigation of climate change, but adaptation is also surfacing a lot faster than we anticipated. The effects of climate change need to be addressed diligently, and the whole world needs to come together to address this issue. But I think we're past the point where we also need to start to adapt to the extent possible. To give you some examples, we operate hydroelectric power plants. Our hydroelectric power plants have two issues, for example, we've seen increase in the last couple of years. One is with droughts, we have less water, obviously. And the issue is right after the drought, we typically get with very heavy rains, storms, that actually very quickly raise reservoir levels. And if you don't have a large enough reservoir, if you're operating a regulator, you need to release the water without properly generating electricity from it. Other issues in thermal power plants, as temperatures increase, you need to cool the machinery within the processes of these power plants. That's becoming more energy consumptive. Same applies to even solar power plants. If you have the efficiency of these solar power plants go down as temperature increases. Sunlight is good, but higher temperatures reduce their efficiency. And also change in wind conditions, both direction, magnitude, and their location also impact wind turbines as well. So I think that's a challenge that we've started to think about, and all asset operators will have to think about more and more in the upcoming years.
Thank you so much. I think this ends our panel related to the future-proofing Turkish business. Thank you all. Thank you.
Okay. Before we move on to the final panel of today, I would like to invite Erkin Bey, once again from Arge Consulting, back to the stage to share the results of the survey with us. Erkin Bey.
Received your response, and it seems that the which could be the one of the next year's summit topics. And the second issue is the climate change. Actually, when we listened to Murat Bey, he stated the effects of the climate change we feel now, and it will be increasing in the future if we do not have any reserves regarding this, and also if we don't have any measure for this. So these are the two topics. The others are less than prioritized compared to these two. Maybe next year's summit will cover all these some of these topics, but mostly on sustainable finance and climate action will be the key topics as far as we see.
Thank you so much, Erkin Bey. Thank you.